皆さん、英語のそーたです。
And I'm Reilly.
Hey Riley, Happy New Year. The real one.
Happy New Year. Yeah.
How was your New Year's holiday?
Oh, it was fine. It was relaxing. I didn't really do much.
Okay. Yeah, I hope everyone had a great time during the holiday. 皆さん、明けましておめでとうございますって、もうね、過去のエピソードで言ってると思うんですけど、今日1月の何日だ18日土曜日で、本当にリアルな、僕の中では皆さんにお伝えする明けましておめでとうございますかなと思いますので、はい、今年もよろしくお願いします。で、そう、新年にアップしたエピソードで、今年はちょっと YouTube とか、SNS 配信も頑張っていこうと思ってるので、アウトプットって宣言したんですけど、ちょっと今、状況的にそれが厳しいことがちょっとありまして、今まだなんか SNS とか全然、いつも通りというか、むしろインスタとかちょっと休んじゃってるんですけど、また状況が整ったら、その宣言通りのアウトプットイヤーにさせていただきたいなと思いますので、ちょっとだけお待ちください。Yeah, for those of you who listened to the last episode, in which I said I'll do this year will be an output year, and then I'll post a lot of things on YouTube or on social media accounts. But honestly, now I'm having a small problem, and then I can't do that, and I can't focus on that. So let me say, when everything had settled down, I will do it. So please wait for a while. Yeah, that's something I wanted to let you guys know before starting the episode for today. Riley, is there something you want to add? Like you're also gonna start a new account, right?
Yeah, I haven't yet, but I would like to start an kind of English Instagram account, just to kind of keep things from the podcast in their own place. Yeah,
so everyone look forward to them. My
be
account.
on the lookout for that when I finally do it.
Okay. Yes, are ready, Riley.
Yep.
ソータと
Reilly の
台本なし英会話レッスン
Episode 299.
All right, what is the topic for episode 299, Riley?
It's English mistakes native speakers make.
はい、今回のお題は、ネイティブスピーカーでも間違えちゃう文法間違いです。By the way, the 台本なし英会話 lesson for the very, first one of this year was kind of good or bad? What do you think?
The one we did together, or
Yeah.
Which one? That one?
That one.
I thought it had negative moments. I don't know. I think you got kind of into a space where you were talking a bit about, some kind of negative things that I think you didn't mean it to come across as so negative, but it maybe did, to be honest.
Yeah, because you were laughing after we said 台本なし英会話 lesson together. So I was wondering if that was good or bad. A little negative.
Yeah. Oh, the reason this time that I was laughing?
Oh, yeah. After saying 台本なし英会話 lesson.
Oh, this time I was just laughing because I think we probably weren't in sync perfectly.
Okay, then that was a negative one. Oh, you were talking about the last one?
Yeah, I thought that's what you meant.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was talking
Sorry,
about
I'm confused.
this one. Yeah, that's
this
okay.
one. It's the first one of the new year, the actual new year, but it's not the first one out on the new year.
Sorry, I see. Mm-hmm. I got confused.
It's kind of time travel, right? Like we're time for us. It's whatever January. What is the date? 17th. 18th actually.
Yeah.
Whoops. But yeah, I guess, and for us, it's the first one we recorded together because I had a solo one last week, and then, but the first one that came out was, when did we record that? Like, not December 30th or something.
That's confusing.
Anyway, sorry, confusing. Yeah,
it's okay. Yeah, that's why I also said, sorry for my, goal setting. That was confusing too, because I said that last year, but actually, now it's 2025. So I just wanted to say, sorry, I haven't done it yet because that's something I said last year. And then after the new year had started, something happened or something. So, yeah, that's confusing. But anyways, yes. Okay. So the topic for today is about grammar mistakes even native speakers make. And then I came up with this topic because I'm always wondering if even native speakers make grammar mistakes. Then, if so, what kind of mistakes or how often? Yeah, so today I want to focus on that. So, first of
Hmm.
all, do you think even native speakers make grammar mistakes in their conversations?
Um, so I'm going to say yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a thing that gets talked about a lot where, like, actually, is it possible for a native speaker to make a grammar mistake? Is a question that we talk about, like, in my linguistics classes and stuff in university. We talked about this a lot. Um, where, sometimes, a teacher, an English teacher might say, oh, this is a mistake. This is the correct way to say something. But actually, uh, those kind of ways of speaking that are in the textbook or whatever might not actually be how people speak. So even though the teacher says it's incorrect, if a native speaker speaks that way, then kind of it's okay. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Mm. Yeah, even in Japanese that happens. Like 雰囲気, for example.
Right.
雰囲気 is a real one, but 雰囲気 we say, then
Right.
yeah, no one can judge. That's what you mean, right?
Stuff like that. And also like languages change over time,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Obviously the Japanese that people speak now is not the same as the Japanese that people spoke 500 years ago or whatever,
mm,
right?
mm,
And so the way that things change is that people start saying things differently. Like maybe, 100 years ago, people did say funiki instead of fuinki, but
mm,
now it's changing and stuff like, the word kawaii and whatever, like used to have a different meaning a long time
mm,
ago, stuff like that.
mm,
So at some point, somebody started saying fuinki or started saying kawaii in a different way, and somebody, their teacher or their mother or something like that, said, "Hey, that's wrong," but enough people did it, and now it's like kind of correct. It's the way people actually use that word.
mm, mm. Okay. Yeah. Language change. Yeah. That makes sense. But at the same time, there are some basic grammar rules. For example, if the subject is the third singular in English,
Mm,
he or
yeah.
she, we
Mm,
have to put S to the verb. So, I think that's one of the things a lot of Japanese or non-native speakers forget to do.
hmm.
So I'm always trying not to do it. But I was wondering, oh, if that happens to even native speakers, like, do they forget to put S to the verbs or something? Yeah, so I'll ask this question next. So let me translate what you said first.
Sure. Okay.
うんうん。そう、ちょっと今、英語がね、バッと続いてるので、日本語訳した方がいいかなと思ったんですけど、そう、今回僕、このトピック自分で決めたんですけど、すごい僕、英語話すときに文法ミスしないようにって、めちゃくちゃ実は、すっごい気をつけてるんですね。で、日本語の方が僕、言い間違えとかしても頭の中で分かってても、あ、まあいいかと思って結構突き進めちゃう時とかあるんですけど、英語の方がもうなるべく文法ミスしないようにっていうのはすごい、ポッドキャストでも含め心がけてるんですよね。やっぱね、可能な限りいろんな方に聞いていただくので、そこがね、間違いないようにしなきゃと思うので、めちゃくちゃ実は気をつけてるんですよね。で、ふと思うのが、日本語って僕たちすごい言い間違いをしたり、助詞ね、オーニーがとかおかしかったりすることとかいっぱいあるじゃないですか。で、主語で、これが私の言いたいことですって、がって言わないといけないけれども、これで私が言いたいことでとか、ね、がを間違ってでって言っちゃっても突き進めて言っちゃったりすることとかあるじゃないですか。でも結果文法ミスだったりしますよね。こういうなんか言い間違いとか文法ミスってネイティブが英語を話すときもするのかなと思って、その例が後で聞きますけど、三単の S 付け忘れたりするのかなと思って、このトピックを選びました。で、文法ミスしますかっていう質問に対して、ライリーの答えは Yes と No だと。で、まあ、その Yes の部分は今から聞いていきたいんですけど、No の部分の説明としては、何がやっぱ正解かってわかんないよねっていう、確かに言われてみればそうだなと思うんですけど、日本語でも ね、本当は雰囲気じゃないですか。でも雰囲気って日常会話では言うじゃないですか。これをどこを基準としてね、正しいのか正しくないとするのか。人によってはね、これを間違いっていう人もいれば、そうじゃない人もいるっていう。つまり学校のテキストで習ったような文法っていうものをみんながネイティブね、それをその通り話してるわけでもないのと、やっぱネイティブが間違いだとしても使ってるね、言葉とかがあったら、それがやっぱスタンダードになるので、これを間違いとも言いづらいので、まずは Yes and No っていう、お話がここまででした。プラス言葉の意味っていうのも時代の変化とともに日本語も変わってくるように、例えばもしかしたら可愛いっていう意味が昔はちょっとね、もうちょっと違うニュアンスを含んでたかもしれないじゃないですか。なので、正しさっていうのをどこに置くのかっていうところで、Yes and No かなっていう、回答かなっていうふうに僕は捉えましたかね。Okay, yeah, more specifically, as I said, the third singular grammar rule, does that
Right.
happen?
Um, I would say no.
No,
Basically,
okay.
no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, uh, it's kind of difficult because there are different varieties of English. So if you think about like let's say standard American English, which is pretty much the kind of English that I speak, and it's pretty much the kind of English that most people in Japan learn in school.
Mm,
That one, if you are starting a sentence with third person pronoun, he or she, um, then you need to add an S to the verb. He likes pasta or whatever,
mm,
right?
mm, mm,
But in what's called African American English, uh, you don't always need to put an S at the end. They can say something like he like you, he like pasta. That is
mm,
like something that for them is grammatical. Well, for speakers of African American English. Um, so yeah, I would say they might say that he like pasta, but it's not a mistake for them. That's just they have a little bit different grammar, if that makes sense.
mm. But why for them it's not a problem? I mean, it's not a mistake.
Right. So you it's maybe easier to understand accents than it is to understand grammar differences. You know,
Mm,
in standard American English, we say three, right, with the th sound at the beginning.
mm,
In Ireland, they say tree because they
mm,
don't really have a th sound in Irish English.
mm,
And nobody would say Irish people are saying it wrong. It's
mm,
just that the way they speak in Ireland is like that,
mm, mm,
right? But so it's kind of the same with different grammar rules, where in African American English, that is simply not a rule that you have to put an s at the end of a verb if
mm,
it's a third person subject.
Then it's not related to their educational background. For example, they didn't get enough education. That's why that happens, or it's not related to that.
Oh, okay, that's kind of difficult. It could be related to that
uh,
because the English that you learn in school in America is standard American English,
mm,
right? So in school, they will teach you he likes or whatever. If you're writing an essay or something, the teacher will, put a ping on your on your essay on your paper if you don't have an S at the end of likes in that pasta sentence, right?
mm, mm, mm,
Um, but there is a difference between like kind of the official English, the correct English in a school or whatever, and the English that people speak at home.
mm, mm, mm.
Um, I don't know if there's too many examples of this in Japanese. You might get it in some regional areas, maybe up in Tohoku or Kagoshima or something. The way people speak at home might be a little bit different than the way they speak at school
Mm,
or something like that because of like local accent, local dialect,
mm,
right?
mm, mm, mm. Mm. Okay, and overall, for African Americans, that grammar rule doesn't exist, and then it's not a, big problem. It's not a big mistake, or it's normal for them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-mm. Okay, yeah, I have some questions to ask you, listening to your explanation. The other day I was watching some Instagram posts, and then, yeah, looking back, I saw some posts, especially in the comment section. Native speakers were commenting with
Mm.
that kind of mistake. I don't know if it's a mistake. they didn't put S to the verb, and
Right.
maybe they were not from African Americans communities or something. But
Okay.
in this case, why is this happening? Intentionally, they do that.
Yeah, that's probably intentional.
Mm.
Um, and it's probably kind of to imitate African American English,
Oh.
honestly. Because African American English is culturally powerful, I guess you can say. Like hip
Mm.
hop music and some TV shows and whatever, social media, whatever. These kinds of things are popular in the culture,
Mm.
so people often will imitate them in daily life. Maybe it's
Mm.
similar in Japan how, comedians often speak with like a Kansai accent. So
Mm.
sometimes people who aren't from Kansai will say something in a Kansai accent when they want to be funny or something like that.
Mm. Or if it's too much trouble for them, sometimes they cut that part when they're texting
Um,
or commenting.
that's maybe possible, but I don't think so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. This is really interesting to me because when do they do that, or is that an intentional thing or not? So yeah, maybe it's not intention, listening to your explanation for now. Um, and then another example is, for example, in Western songs, sometimes they cut the part, the S. Is it
hmm
because of, the rhythm thing? Intentional, right?
Uh, I would think it's probably the same reason. It's probably mimicking kind of African American English. I don't think it's really for rhythm because the S at the end shouldn't affect the rhythm too much.
Really? But there are so many songs that have those sentences without S. And
Yeah.
yeah, in the past I heard you know, it's for not messed up with the rhythm, but from your perspective, it's not about the rhythm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know so much about music. I don't make music or anything, but I would feel like S, it doesn't add a syllable or anything, so it shouldn't change the rhythm too much, I think.
It does sometimes. I'm trying to come up with a, good song. He, for example, Justin Bieber or Tater too.
Uh-huh.
The yeah, I can't come up with the example, but yeah. Anyways, that's kind of related to African Americans accent. Yeah, that's what I learned now.
Yeah.
うんうん。OK。Yes、一回ちょっと訳したいなと思うんですけど、三単の S 付け忘れることあるのかっていう、ないっていう、そっか、ないんか、これあってほしいなって僕思ってたんですけど、なぜかというと、僕結構 SNS とか見てて、コメント欄とか、ネイティブが投稿してるやつで、S 抜けてること結構あるんですよね。これは打ち間違いなのか、まあ、めんどくさいから、こう、僕、例えばよかったねとかっていうのを打つときに、日本語でも2打つめんどくさいからよかったね。2消して送ったりするときあるんですよ。こんな感じで、めんどくさいからサンタの S 省いてんのかなって思いつつも、なんか間違っちゃってるのかなって思うときもあるんですけど、でも、なんか、まあ、ちょっとさっき訳しましょう。ややこしくなるので。そう、間違っちゃってるのかなと思ってたんですよ。でも、ライリー的には、それで間違えることは基本的にないと。ないのかって思いつつ、じゃあなんで S 抜いてるのかっていうと、アフリカ系アメリカ人のコミュニティの中では、He like pasta みたいな、サンタの S つけないのが結構普通なんですって。それが、やっぱ教育の背景から来てるのかどうかっていうところもさっき質問してて、そこはやっぱ家で話す、ね、英語と外で話す英語っていう、まあ、教育の部分ももともとは関係しているのかもしれないんですけれども、アフリカ系アメリカ人の中では、3単 S つけなくても OK。つまりそれが間違いともう捉えられてないっていうのが、あると。そこを真似してコメント欄で、もう3単の S 抜いた英語で話してる、コメントしてるっていう。それが、日本人でいう関西弁を真似してちょっとやってる感じの感覚なんじゃないかっていう視点がありました。 そっか、そういう視点があるのかと。で、もう一個は、僕、曲の中で結構三単の S 抜けてるものってあるんですよね。で、これは昔なんか調べたときに、結構リズム崩れないために、ス入れるとちょっとリズム狂うときって僕はあると思うんですよね。それで、抜いてるって聞いたことがあったんですけど、今それもライリーに聞いたら、ライリーの視点としては、アフリカ系の人のアクセントとかを真似してる感じなんじゃないかと。あんまり数がリズムに影響することないんじゃないかっていうのが彼の視点だったんですけど、なんかこれに関しては僕、数入れるとなんか確かにリズムおかしくなるような、歌いにくくなるよなっていう曲って今まで、いっぱいあって、でもそれがね、何か思い浮かべないんですよね、今。でもまあ、ライリーの視点としては、それもアフリカ系の人たちのそのアクセントを真似してるんじゃないかっていう視点でしたね。Um, when we were traveling for the tour, do you
うん。
remember this conversation we had? S- why did we start talking about it? I forgot, but I was asking you this question. For this word people,
うん。
less or few, and then you
Right.
said, yeah, grammatically, it's correct to say few people. And
Yes.
especially Riley is kind of linguistic person. So you said I would be really careful, and then I would say few people, but a lot of native speakers say less people. Do you
Yeah.
remember that conversation?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, when I heard that, and I remember that conversation too, then I wanted to make this episode. So about this one, do you think this is a mistake?
Yeah, so it's kind of the same thing where, we probably in school in Japan, people learn about mass nouns versus or count nouns versus mass nouns, right? And they'll learn, that you should say uh more money instead of many money or whatever, or a
Mm-mm.
lot of money instead of many money, whatever, blah blah blah, stuff like that.
Mm-mm.
Um Now for some reason in English, that stuff is still important in the
Mm-mm.
grammar. Like people would maybe look at you funny if you said, I have many money. Like that doesn't sound right.
Mm-mm.
But the other way, when you're talking about less or few or fewer or something like that, um, it's not so important anymore in day-to-day English.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, it's like it's difficult to say if it's a mistake or not. I
Mm-mm.
would say if it's in writing, like, for an essay or something like that, then yes, it's a mistake.
Mm-mm.
Because when you're writing, you should write with the like official standard version of English. But um, if you're just speaking, then I don't think it's a mistake. I just think that English speakers have agreed that the difference between fewer and less is not so
Mm-mm.
important anymore.
Mm. Then can we say, oh, there is less people in this cafe or in this restaurant?
Uh, yeah, I think you could say that there are less people. There is less people. That's another one. Sometimes people do mix up there is and there are as
Mm.
well.
Mm-mm.
Um, I think even I, because again, I try to be careful about this kind of thing, but I make that mistake or I do that sometimes. It's easy to say it's a mistake, but it's not really. Um, but anyway, yes, we can say there are less people.
Mm-mm.
Mm,
And about the group noun, like people, there is a lot of people. In this case, is also fine, right?
there's a lot of people. I don't know about that one actually. Like if you were saying in a textbook, would there is a lot of people be okay?
Mm.
I'm honestly not sure.
Yeah, so there's less
Probably.
people. Yeah, in this case too, I think is also fine. But yeah, like this, even native speakers, those rules are confusing. っ
Well,
てことよ
sure.
ね。
Yeah.
うん。
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
うん。そっか、面白い。この、会話は僕は個人的にすごい好きだから、いろんなこと聞きたいなと思ってるんですけど、なんでね、この、クエスチョン思いついたかっていうところと、まあまあ、このトピックやりたいなと思った時に、まあ思い出したって言った方がいいのかな。ライリーと、その去年全国ツアーで回ってた時に、なんか、 僕が、ここ人空いてるね、みたいな、there's few people って言って、その時に、なんか、less people って言ってる人も、違う違う、何やったかな僕が、less と few、この場合って few people で合ってるやんな、みたいなことを聞いたんですよね。そしたらライリーが、グラマー的には few だけれども、ネイティブでも less people って本当は文法的に間違いだけれども使う人がめっちゃ会話では多いと。で、ライリー自身はやっぱ言語学とかやってたり、言葉にすごい注意してるから few people って言うようにしてるけれども、less っていう人多いよって言ってたんですよね。それを聞いたときに、ね、few を使うときって、数えれる名詞に使って、less っていうのは数えられない名詞に使うって僕たち習うじゃないですか。こういうルールもネイティブの中では破綻してるんだなっていうのを聞いたときに、ね、何をまずミステイクとするのかっていう定義も決めないといけないと同時に、なんでしょうね、こう、どれくらい文法のそのミス、これをミスって言っていいかわかんないんですけど、文法書に載ってるような形と違う形でネイティブは話すのかっていうのを知りたいなと思ってこのエピソードを作ったんですよね。そう、なので、ヒューとレスは結局やっぱどっちでもいいみたいなんですよね。プラス今、there is a lot of people なのか、there are a lot of people なのか、これもネイティブの中でも、こう、って議論になるって、今ちょうど話題に上がったんですけど、これはなんか集合名詞、people みたいな塊を表すときっていうのは、is でも are でも、どっちでも OK っていう確か文法ルールだったと思うんですけど、ライリーも、どっちだったっけってなるっていう。つまりなんか、意外と僕たちの方が文法ルール知ってたり、するのかもしれませんよね。それだけネイティブの人たちは無意識に話していて、仮に文法的な間違いって言われてるものも、ね、使ったりするのかもしれませんよね。And also, I remember after that, like you were having another conversation, and then you were saying there is less people or something. So when I found that, I was really glad because oh, you were also saying like that. So no correct rules for English, I guess, right?
Yeah, for
Few or less.
fewer or less. Yeah, I think there's not really. I mean, there is, obviously in a textbook it will say you should say fewer people, but in actual spoken English, not really. There isn't really a rule there.
Then, for example, if people say, I have many money,
Hmm.
how does that sound? Can you translate that into Japanese?
I don't know if I can translate that into Japanese.
Yeah, because I'm not a native speaker, so I always feel like I want to feel how that sounds to native speakers.
um,
そう、今、ナイリが考えてる間にちょっと言っときますけど、そう、さっき、many と、a lot of 数えれる名詞につける many と数えられない名詞につける、まあ、マッチとかね、a lot of っていう話ですけど、そう、many money ってね、文法的には間違いですけど、こういった場合ってネイティブにどう聞こえるんだろうって。ここ僕ネイティブじゃないかわかんないんですよね、こういう感覚って。なので今、ライリーにちょっと日本語に訳せるって言ってるんですけど、どんな感じに
I don't,
聞こえるん？
I don't know. Like, it sounds like I don't know. 私は多いお金がある or something like that.
あ
Like, it
あ、うんう
sounds
んうん。
weird
多いお金がある。正しい形やったら ?The correct version is?
in Japanese.
うん。
Maybe たくさん right?
たくさんのお金がある。多いお金がある。なるほどね。そっか。そういう感じか。多い。ああ、そっか。ここの感覚はちょっと難しいですよね。But
But
sometimes even native speakers make that kind of mistake. Many
I
money.
have many money. I don't think so. I don't think we would make
あ
that mistake. No.
あ、
I think
then, sorry, go ahead.
in linguistics terms, you would say that like the rule, like
うん。
because obviously like you have rules in a textbook, but a language has rules too that are not in the textbook that like native speakers follow.
うん。
Um, and so what you would say is that the rule for mass nouns in kind of like the positive way,
うん。
more or many or a lot or something like that
うん。
is a rule, while the negative one or the I don't, negative isn't exactly the right term, but when you're talking about having fewer or less,
うん。
then that is not a rule anymore or not as strong of a rule anymore.
うん。うん。うん。So, either it's fine. in that case.
Yeah, in that kind of in the negative sense, I would say either
うん、
is fine. Depending on the situation, of course. You know,
う
again,
ん、
in a professional setting, in a essay, in a written something, then yeah, perhaps it's better to know the textbook rule and use fewer people. But
うん、うん、
in daily conversation, less is fine.
うん。Okay, then what kind of mistakes do you guys make sometimes? You can find, for example,
So like you're talking about that kind of mistakes that a
or
textbook would say is wrong.
or any mistakes in conversations. You feel, oh, he made a grammar mistake.
Yeah, so okay. Um, I mean, I would say there's some that I try not to do that some people do, like yeah, less and fewer is an example, or um using adjectives instead of adverbs, especially good instead of well. So
Mm,
people can will sometimes say like my mom cooks real good, or
oh,
really good.
mm.
Where the in a textbook you're supposed to say my mom cooks well,
Yeah.
really well.
Mm.
But people say good instead of well a lot.
Is
Um,
it fine?
yeah, it's fine. I mean, yeah, it's like it's a certain variety of English that maybe some people would think of as being like uh less educated or something, but I don't think that's fair. I
Mm,
think it's just like a variety of English. Um, Maybe not necessarily where you come from. I don't know. Anyway, it's kind of complicated, but it's fine. People say it. People often say it.
mm,
But it maybe depends on the kind of how formal the situation is that maybe you shouldn't say that, in a business environment or whatever.
mm. But in your case, you try not to say that, right? You try to say, well,
Um, yeah, I think so. Again, it depends on I could say good because good has this it's kind of difficult to describe, but it has this kind of like maybe country or working class kind of
mm,
vibe to say like, uh, yeah, you do that real good or whatever. I don't know, you cook real good or something like that. It sounds kind of country or maybe working class or something. So I might say it sometimes
mm,
with the kind of intention of
mm,
sounding that way. Does that make sense?
mm. Yeah.
Um,
Because
yeah.
that's one of the things I try not to do. Like I also, accidentally might have said, I could have said, really good, but in my head, I'm always trying not to make a lot of mistakes. So, oh, I have to be careful about that. And I try to say, well, so I was really, kind of relieved because even native speakers make that kind of, I'm not sure if I can call it a mistake, but yeah, they do. So,
Right.
interesting. Anything else? Kind of huge mistakes examples.
Another one is people not using the past participle of verbs. So that's it saying something like, I've never ate this food before,
Mm,
instead of saying, I've never eaten this food
mm,
before. I think that's becoming really common to use the past tense of a verb like ate instead of eaten, or to use
intentionally.
what. Um, no, I think that one's
Oh,
I mean, it's a mistake in the
mm,
sense that they're not trying to make them, they're not trying to make a mistake, but it's also not a mistake in the reasons I'm trying to explain, where it's like that means that rule is changing in English.
うんうんうん。ああ、なるほどね。ちょっと訳そうかなと思うんですけど、なんかでもこれ嬉しい。I'm happy because they also make that kind of mistakes. But you said, I'm not sure or we are not sure if we can call it a mistake nowadays. でもなんか面白いですね。そう、まずは、あれなんでしたっけもともとのやつは、そう、he can cook well 上手にっていう、ね、well 使わないといけないけれども、he can cook good いいっていう、僕もこれ、頭の中でグッと言いそうになって、あ、違う、こっちは文法的に上手にのにだから well だみたいに考える時もあって、自分も気をつけてることなんですけど、あ、ネイティブでもこれ言い間違いするんだと思ってちょっとハッピーでした。でも、 なんかさっきのテーマと同じで、これ間違いなんだけれども、みんな結構使ってたりするらしくて、ライリーも使う時もあったりするらしくて、これを間違いと呼べるのかわかんないけれども、まあこういうミスもあると。で一番は、これは結構ミスなんだけどっていうのが、過去分詞形にし忘れるっていう、I've eaten っていう eaten じゃなくて ate にしちゃうっていう。でも、ネイティブも今もこういうミスもめっちゃ増えてきてるから、意図的にこうやってもうね、言っちゃう人もいるくらいだからミスと呼んでいいかわからないけれども、まあ、これに関してはミスだよねっていう。そんなもんなんや。Another huge example? I mean, huge mistake?
You have one more. It's not maybe not as big. But lay versus lie.
ああ、うんうん。
So you can say so this is like jidoshi versus tadoshi in Japanese,
うんう
where
ん。
lie is intransitive, is jidoshi, so that means I lie down, like
うん。
I lie down, or something like that. She lies down, whatever.
うんうんうん。
Um, but some many people will say I lay down,
う
but
んうん。
the correct textbook use of the word lay is you have to have an object. Like so I lay my pencil down on the table, or I lay the blanket on the bed, or something like that.
う
So
ん。
after lay, you have to have a thing that you are laying down. Um, but many people will say I lay down
う
to mean, or
ん。
I am laying down instead of I am lying down. That kind of thing happens quite a lot, actually.
う
But that's just
ん。
like one word. It's not a huge mistake. It's not super common, but uh, yeah, that's something I was thinking of.
なるほどね。面白いですね。自動詞、他動詞ってね、お湯を沸かすのとお湯が沸くみたいな、他動詞の方は、ね、お湯をっていう後ろに何か入れるのに対して、自動詞だったならば、お湯が沸くみたいな感じで、まあ、この boil の場合はその自動詞、他動詞両方ね、あるっていう単語ですけれども、lie と lay っていうね、lie は自動詞なので、私は横になったっていう時は、まあ、lie down. Lie's past tense is lied. Lie, lied, lied. やん
Okay,
な。
actually, that's where it gets complicated. Lies past tense is lay.
lay? あ、そっか。lie, lay, laying? あれ、何だっけ忘れた。
Laid. Lie, lay,
late,
laid.
lie, lay, late. で、lay,
Wait,
lay, lay
wait.
か。
I think lie, lay, laid. Lie, lay, lied. Wait, actually,
lie,
I'm not sure what the past participle. I have
lie,
lied
lied,
down.
lied, lie,
I don't
lay.
even know.
lie, lie, lied, lied ちゃう。
Lie,
いや、
lied, lied.
うん、違う ?Am I
That
correct
would be
or
for
wrong?
like to tell a lie, but for lie
あ
down, it's different. Yeah,
lie,
it's lane. Yeah, lane.
lie, lay,
Lie, lay,
laying,
lane.
and
Yes.
lay, laid, laid. わからなくなった。覚えたはず
Laid,
やのに中学の時にも忘れてるわ。I lie down. Lay,
laid, lay, laid, laid.
lay, laid, laid. Lie, lay, laying. Lay, laid, laid.
Yes.
じゃあ、ちょっと待ってよ。横になったっていう時は、I lay down.
Yes.
Uh, but native speakers say for the past tense, I lied down. Do they say that?
Maybe. Could. I lied down.
I lied,
Could. Maybe.
lied.
Maybe. People could say that, I think. Yeah.
そうやんな. Yeah, I feel like I've heard of that kind of sentence, but officially this is a mistake. But yeah, this is the theme. They often use this sentence.
Yeah. I think these two words are mixed up a lot. And like even
そうい
then,
うことか。
I didn't immediately know what the past participle of lie is because, yeah, I had lain there for quite a while. I would almost never say that. Like you could read that in a book, of course, but like,
う
mm,
ん
no, I mean, that's like,
Then the correct sentence is I uh, lay down, but they even native speakers say I lied down, and also I have lied down. Do they say that?
possibly, yeah. I mean, what
Oh.
what I was more trying to say is like you maybe it's easier in like the future tense. I'm going to go lay down is something somebody could say, but they should say I'm going to go lie down.
Sorry, can you say? one more time.
So the incorrect is I'm going to go lay down,
うん。
but the correct is I'm going to go lie down.
Go light. うんうんうん。Yeah, yeah. Because that's the thing you were saying. Like, I lied. Like, yeah, yeah. I got it. So, what was that?
I'm sorry. So what do you mean so?
So, what did you want to say from the example?
Yeah, I mean just that this is a common mistake and that it's that these two words, one of them is transitive or tadoshi, right? That's lay.
うん。
So you were supposed to talk about laying something down.
う
I
ん。
lay the whatever down. Um
Oh, but people
yeah.
say I
So
go lying.
yeah.
うん
So
うんうん。
the reason I gave that example just now is just because when you put it into the past tense, it gets even more confusing
う
because the
ん。
past tense of lie is lay. So it's confusing. Yeah.
うん。なるほどね。そういうことか。そう、うん、もともとこう話がそれちゃったのは、来の、ね、横になるっていう自動詞の方は、過去形が、正しくは、来、レインなんですけど、僕もなんか、ライドって言っちゃったじゃないですか。でもなんか見たことあるぞ、そのセンテンスって思ったんですよ。例えば、彼が横になったっていう時に、he lied down ってなんか聞いたことあるし、見たことある気がすると思って今この話をしてたんですけど、ここも含めネイティブももう混同して使ってるっていう、つまりこれは間違いなんだけれども、使っちゃってるっていう例ですね。なので、整理すると正しくは、横になるっていうライは、ライレイレイン。で、何かをこう置くとかっていう、つまり他動詞という、その動詞の後ろに物を置く例の方は、形としては、レイド、レイン合ってる？ Am I correct?
Laid,
あ
actually.
レイレイ、そっちはもうややこしい。レイド、レイドと。ちょっともう一回整理。ライ、レイ、レイン、
Yes.
レイドですね。
Yes.
うん。なんだけれども、そのライの方の過去形、本来、レイになるものをもうライドって言っちゃったりとか、なぜかっていうと、もう、そのレイの方、もうわからん、もうレイ、もうライ、これがややこしいっていうことです。今日のエピソードは。
いかがでしたでしょうか？
いかがでしたでしょうか？もうややこしい。そう、もう頭こんがらがる。そう、もう、来例、もうわからん。うん、そう、とにかく、皆さん、来の過去形とか、見てみてください。例の過去形。それで、この言ってる話は伝わると思います。つまり、まあ、来は、とにかく過去形は、例なんだけれども、例どうなんだけれども、もうそれを間違えて来どって言っちゃうと。プラス、なんか、来の本来の正しい形は、過去形はレイドなんだけれども、このレイドとそのレイっていう単語が似てるから、もう間違ってこのレイって使っちゃったり、つまり I lay down みたいに言っちゃったり、あるいは I lie down dispensal みたいな感じで言っちゃったりとかするっていう。そう、もうややこしいですね。なので、うん。でも、ライリーの名前は間違いないですね。ライリーをレイリーとは言わcan we call you Rayleigh? Because Riley and Rayleigh, that's confusing.
Are you doing the lie and lay joke?
いやいやいや、
Uh,
そ
that's
こ、
double bad because of the R and L difference, but
確かに。ほんまや、そこも L と R 自体飛び越えちゃってるから、2つの間違いやでっていう、うん、確かにそう、そこ聞き返されたのがちょっと苦しいんですけれども、そう、もう、ライリーとレイリーどっちやったっけってね、なることはないよねって言ったんですけど、うん、それはレイとライのジョークにかけてるのって今確認されましたが、うん、そう、もう一個そう、one more thing I remembered from
yeah.
Justin Bieber, My
Okay.
mama don't like you, she likes everyone. Have you
Right.
heard that kind of phrase?
Yeah.
このさ、これ、まママ doesn't like you って言ったらさ、the reason
Right.
it's going
Yeah.
to, yeah, messed up.
Uh,
Be messed up. うん。
yeah, I think sure. That one makes sense for rhythm because that's an extra syllable, right?
うん。うん。
I would but again,
うん。
the don't doesn't thing is maybe also coming from African American
う
English.
ん。
Maybe not. I think he don't, she don't is it's hard for me to say. I'm not an expert on this this, but it it could be a working class thing, like people from different class may say don't instead of doesn't, or it could be coming from African American English. I'm not sure. But yeah, him choosing to do it because it fits with the kind of rhythm that he wants to have in the song makes sense. But I think if it were completely unacceptable, like if it were just like completely bad grammar, bad meaning like people couldn't understand what he was saying, then even if it was better for the rhythm, he wouldn't choose it. Does that make sense?
So he chose this phrase because that makes sense.
Yeah, because it makes sense at least a little bit, right? Yeah. So if I can say like what I would like everyone to kind of take away from this episode is that, so native speakers do make mistakes in the sense that they don't follow the rules of the textbook all the time. But I also think that as non-native speakers of English, you should understand that there's like a lot of kind of leeway. There's a lot of space for you to make mistakes when you're speaking English. Because things that might be a mistake in the textbook might be completely understandable to a native speaker anyway. So I think often when people are speaking a foreign language, they focus a lot on getting everything exactly correct, getting the grammar correct. But in reality, a native speaker can understand you even if you make a lot of grammar mistakes. So I think in a communication setting, maybe not at work or if you're writing some kind of assignment for school or something, but if you're just talking to a friend or something like that, then making mistakes is perfectly fine. And I think it's more important to speak fluidly than it is to speak correctly, if that makes sense.
なるほど。なので、レイリーからのコメントとしては、anyone can make grammar mistakes ってことですね。Am I right, レイリー
？Yeah, sure.
OK。そういうことです。そう、Love Yourself from Justin Bieber。そう、一個例を思い出して、今歌詞見てたんですけど、My Mama doesn't になるべきところが、Mama don't like you って don't なんですよね。これはやっぱリズム崩さないためだと思うんですよね。今、ライリーも言ってましたけど、My Mama doesn't like you って言いづらいので。でもやっぱりこういうのもアフリカ系の人たちのアクセントから来てる気もするしってライリーも言ってたのと、あとはやっぱりこうやって文法違うんだけれども、ね、伝われば、なんだろうな、伝わるんだったら OK っていうことで使われる形っていうのはやっぱいっぱいあると。なので、レイリーが言ってたのは、もう皆さんも僕も含めでしょうけれども、文法ミスとか気にせず、やっぱどんどん話していくことが大事だよねっていうことだったので、そう。なので、ネイティブでも、今ここに上がったお話以外でも、ね、そう、僕もなんか聞いてて思うときあるんですよ。これ文法間違いじゃないとかと思うときあるんですよ。でもネイティブが言ってたら、これ正しいのかなと思っちゃいますよね。でもやっぱり彼らもそうやってね、ミスしながらも、僕たちが日本語をバンバン間違えるように、ミスして話してると思うので、あまり気にせず、話していきましょう。僕は英語のソータで調べていただくと、X とか Twitter とかインスタとか YouTube とか、出てきます。レイリーは、レイリー・サリバンじゃなくて、ライリー・サリバンで調べていただくと、レイリーのアカウントは出てきます。ややこしい。That's confusing ですけど、そう、レイリーじゃなくてライリーで調べてください。でもなんか僕、日本語の方がミスしやすい気がします。Compared to those two things, Japanese and English, I think Japanese speakers make more mistakes, I guess, because the rules are a lot and confusing.
You think so? I wonder. I mean, I think one of the reasons you might say that is because in Japanese there is like a single standard because there's only one country that speaks Japanese, Japan. So there's one official standard way to speak Japanese, and so it's easier to say, that's a mistake. Whereas in English, there's a lot of different kinds of standard Englishes. There's American English, British English, whatever, Australian, etc. So we are maybe more forgiving about making quote unquote mistakes because it could just be a different way of speaking.
うん。なるほどね。そっか。今、ライリーも言ってましたけど、日本語がやっぱミスって特定されやすいのは1個しかないからっていうスタンダードがね。でもそれに対して英語って、どこどこ英語っていうのがいっぱいあるので、もう今もうミスっていうのがどれかわかんなくなってきてるからっていう視点もあるよねっていう、確かにと思いました。プラス日本語ってなんかほんと、が、に、お、に、がってね、もう、あそこが本当難しくて、彼がこう言った、やっぱがが正しいのに彼はって言っちゃってたりとか、このがは、those are confusing, but we make that kind of mistakes a lot.
Mhm.
So, yeah, in
Which
this,
I would say means actually that in Japanese, the ga and wa difference is becoming less important.
なるほどね。そうか。でも、but for me, I try not to do it, but I do, and then I do not care, but yeah, we can make mistakes. ってことですね。
Yeah.
そう、もう自由に話していきましょう。そう、ライリー的にはもうガーワーはそんな関係なくなってきてると思うって。そう、ライティングとかってなるとね、意識しないといけないかもですけど、確かにもう自由に話してもいいのかもですよね。でもなんか日本語ってね、そういうとこ難しいなと思いますね。でもなんか今日のエピソードが皆さんの間違えてもいいから話していこうっていう気持ちにつながってると嬉しいなと思います。では、また次回のエピソードでお会いしましょう。バイ。
Bye.